apparently in the next couple of years, certain toy licenses that we really hardcore feature here on the channel are in fact expiring. Now, one of them I think was supposed to expire this year, but let's, cut to the chase here. It was Marvel Legends. Marvel Legends I think was supposed to expire either this year or next year from Hasbro, or at least the Marvel licenses for Hasbro. But they got, behind the scenes, it's one of those things where I'm like, there's no way that Disney/Marvel is going to let that stuff go. It's not. All right? They're not going to let it go. And so I feel like, and I told my girlfriend this, that whenever that happens, when they say that you're like seeing a star in the sky at nighttime is technically a star that's already been dead for years, so you're barely reaching it right now. I feel like that kind of happens when we find out that certain licenses are expiring or are about to expire. By the time we hear the news or the details about this thing happening, they're already behind the scenes, probably already ironing and inking a deal to extend that license. 9 times out of 10, we're not in the same trajectory. We're hearing about like, oh, this might expire next year. They're already up here like, oh, we already renewed it. We just haven't told you guys. And I feel like with Marvel Legends, that happened. Where behind the scenes, while they were saying that, oh, they might expire in 2024 or 2025, Marvel Legends already renewed at least, they haven't confirmed it to the public, but some insiders say that, yeah, they're good until 2026. So this is brought over by MarvelousNews.com, Jay Crochman. The question of whether Hasbro will hold on to the Marvel license seems to be popping with more and more frequency these days. While it's true the details for how long the current license agreement between Disney and Hasbro for Marvel lasts and that's not been made public, it is pretty clear that Hasbro will be doing Marvel stuff at least through the end of 2026. And he's citing a tweet from Dan Yun himself. He tweeted literally almost a week ago, last week, we are already cooking on 2026, just for your information. JFYI. So that was fairly recent. So even though it's not like an official statement from Hasbro or a joint statement from Hasbro or Disney, we're getting Marvel Legends until 2026. So for at least another, quite honestly, 2 whole goddamn years, we'll be getting the Sunfire Spider-Man bodies over and over and over again. And unless the paint job is just that cool, or there's a very distinctly different figure, if they're, there's rumors going around that they're finally going to tackle some Spider-Man 3 stuff, as far as like the black suit maybe, or maybe we'll finally get the Electro and Lizard from No Way Home, those deluxe figures, because I generally did like the Doc Ock figures, so maybe I'll get those. But outside of that, I'm still gonna be just kind of breezing on through with the Marvel Legends stuff, if I'm being completely and brutally honest. What is a little more interesting, at least to me, is that apparently on the other side of that coin, almost quite literally, you have McFarlane, who technically is losing the license at the end of 2025, which is a whole lot sooner. Now, again, what I have to reiterate, what I mentioned before, about the fact that when we hear about this, they're probably already in the background talking about negotiations, signing deals, and probably, as far as we don't know, maybe they're already extended to 2027, and we just don't know it. I tried searching and searching and searching. All I can find is speculative stuff on Reddit. That, as far as official declarations, I can only find something as far back as I think May of 2023, which is like this article saying that they extended their licensing partnership to 2025 between McFarlane Toys and Warner Brothers / DC. Our previous contact with the DC Multiverse was a huge opportunity for McFarlane Toys to be involved with some of the best brands on the planet, Tom McFarlane says, the man himself. Being able to play creatively with the characters like Superman, Batman, The Flash, and Wonder Woman, along with many other brands in the vast Warner Brothers library, proved to be a huge success for us, and Warner Brothers Discovery. An extension of the contract expands the depth and range of the partnership between launched 3 years ago, that I can know, and that's the end of the article. For the next 2 years, and like I said, this was So we're in the midst of that, but technically, as far as we know, again, pure speculation, they might have already extended it and we just don't know and they haven't made it public. But as far as we can tell, in a, Elseworld kind of situation, McFarlane could, if they didn't work out a deal, doesn't want to spend that much, which I kind of doubt, but there's a possibility, tiny one, but a possibility that the end of 2025, McFarlane loses the DC license. Now, from what I can tell, I don't know what it is, but so many people are rooting for this to happen. They are really rooting for this to happen. They're rooting for McFarlane to lose the DC license. And to be honest, looking at it from a realistic perspective, I think that's also the second most popular opinion, is that people are saying that, frankly, everything is going to stay the same. Marvel will be with Hasbro, and DC will be with McFarlane. There's a reason for why so many figures sell out of the McFarlane toy store. I can't imagine Warner Brothers not being happy with that, especially with the way Zaslav has been literally writing off movies for tax purposes. So, I gotta be honest, I feel like, again, just speculation, throwing shit at the wall, but there's in recent times, I feel like DC needs McFarlane more than McFarlane needs DC. To an extent. And to be honest, between the two, I feel like the Marvel and Hasbro one, they're just going to keep throwing that money because Marvel is still owned by Disney, and Disney's going to be like, nope, don't go anywhere. Here, don't go anywhere. Whereas Warner Brothers and DC, Warner Brothers DC with McFarlane are the ones that I think will have a little bit more of tit for tat as far as those meetings or those negotiations. Batarang Belt, welcome to the stream. So I have seen a lot of people saying that their toss-up to actually pick up Hasbro would be Jada Toys. And I'm not gonna lie, recently the stuff that they've been doing with the Street Fighter figures, ever so often I see them in that collector's edition section at Target, and I'm like, why does that look kind of cool? These look legitimate. So imagine a Spider-Man, and I don't see any pins. I'm just saying, I don't see any pins. Aren't they doing turtle stuff as well? Or am I thinking of somebody else? But yeah, I mean, I'm just imagining in terms of build quality and sizing, and I don't know. I'm probably going to have to pick one of these up just to see exactly what we're dealing with here. Because when we jump over to some of the bulkier characters like Ken, this is from Street Fighter 2, Violent Ken. But yeah, look at the Zangief. The Honda, E-Honda. And then over here you have a little bit of that Akuma and Evil Ryu. And I'm like, God, I'm picturing not just Spidey himself, but even other characters from the property. And I'm like, I'm seeing really great potential here with Jada Toys. That I'm like, yep. And that's coming from someone who's a big McFarlane stan. I gotta be honest, it'll feel a little monopolizing-ish if McFarlane were to own both Marvel and DC. It would be... I remember there's a video by a YouTuber named Valaverse, and I watched this video, and it was a really good video and informative. Again, he only knows as much as the public knows, so he didn't give like any insider details or anything like that. But he brought up one point that I did think was kind of curious, which is that if McFarlane had both Marvel and DC, hold your vomit, calm down. But at least it would all be on scale. It wouldn't just be 6-inch and then 7-inch. It'll all be 7-inch, and I know you guys will probably hate the 7-inch, but at least you'll have complete consistency up on that shelf. But, and then as far as like the bodies and the joints, I would say that maybe the Nightfall Buck would probably favor Spidey as far as the lean look and not going overly bulky with the physique. Trying to think, and then a mega figure size Venom. I'm not gonna lie, when I think about it right now, I'm kind of like, wait, hold up. I will admit that it'll feel like when in those movies you have a guy and a girl, a man and a woman marry, but they both have kids and they try to force the kids to get along, and they're both just kind of awkwardly in the house, and they're now step siblings, and they're just like, and it creates shenanigans. That's how it's gonna. That's the ambience I'll feel having Marvel it be also under the DC roof. I'm sorry, under the McFarlane roof. But on that same vocation, McFarlane has been teasing stuff with Marvel as far as those statues. Is this the first step for McFarlane to show that, hey, come 2026, can we talk? Because the fact that he's still within those leaks, we saw that he's got more statues, not just within the leaks, but also within some of the slides that he showed over at New York Comic Con. We got more of those Marvel statues are coming, and people are picking them up. They may not be like fully selling out, but they're moving. Especially some of the Chase stuff, some of the Platinum stuff that's only available in store. Jed has very good articulation. I can see like a lot of the points and the butterfly movements. I ever so often I get tempted to want to pick up at least one Street Fighter figure to see exactly what we're dealing with as far as Batman as Jim Gordon is the bug for Spider-Man. Okay, you know what, Socratic? You're right. Not the Nightfall one. That's even leaner. That will look more like Spider-Man. You're right. I like that better. You're right. I don't know why. I forgot about that one. I hope Jada gets the license to make the Marvel vs. Capcom line. Imagine getting at the 30. I would get it, Rashav. I would totally get it. Obviously not with Spider-Man. I'd rather just have it all be plastic. But keeping the theme with Marvel, imagine a Jada Toys blade with an actual trench coat. Thor with an actual cape. Yeah, I would probably say that would be my nominee. I mean, it might be cliche at this point, but Jada Toys would be the one if I want them to take over. Well, I gotta be honest, to take over either one of these, either Marvel or DC, because DC, a Batman with felt goods like that, but with the articulation and the solid build that I'm seeing in those pictures. Of course, Superman, even Wonder Woman. Yeah, that would be my nomination for who I would want to see take it up. It's Jada Toys. Magneto with a cape. Maybe some diecast in there. Maybe some diecast for like some of the more premium stuff, since they've dealt with diecast pieces on their vehicles. I happen to have pretty much all of their Batmobiles, but if we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic and just take it at face value and say that right now, Marvel's good until for sure 2026, and probably in the background they're probably negotiating for 27 and 28. That's just call it like it is. McFarlane's the one that I think there's maybe some more wiggle room, but I feel like they're going to renew as well. Because the amount of times that I'm seeing the sold out button on the site, and even on other retailers like Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, etc., I can't imagine that Warner Bros. Is going to want to walk away from that. We're just going to have to deal with a few more of those caveats, like either the overstock or some of the weird things like the MMA stuff, the movie Maniacs that I don't really see too many people buying. So Jada Toys is American. They can be, to an extent, the American FonJoy, where it's going to be more about 40 to 50, but you're getting some better goods with like things like capes, maybe a diecast piece here and there, like I said, like a utility belt or a mask or a helmet. And then you get the stockiness and the build of things like this instead of just the same like wobbly articulation, same bucks over and over, yada yada. But not to the extent of Mafex, where you have to spend somewhere close to like 80, 90, or even $100. And again, could serve as a gateway to be like, oh, if this is cool, maybe if I spend a little more, like $30 more,